On ABC Radio Perth and across Western Australia. I think you would agree that a lot has changed in a really short space of time, especially when it comes to what we do online now, from gym sessions to classrooms to work meetings. Online platforms you may never have heard of a few weeks ago, Zoom, Teams, whatever it is, they are becoming the new normal at the moment. And when it comes to using them from work, do we need an etiquette guide? Well, my next guest thinks so. Her name is Bethan Wynne. She's a corporate trainer and communications lecturer. Hello, Bethan.
Hi, Di. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm interested to get your perspective on how much more you're looking at people in online forums for work right now.
Oh, absolutely. Everything's completely changed, like you said. Many of us have been thrust into this new world with no training, no idea how to behave in an appropriate manner. And also, it's the last thing on people's list to think, oh, how good is my lighting or my sound? But it's starting to get to that point where we all really need to have a good look at this and how we're coming across on camera, because it's becoming very important to how we're communicating at work or in the classroom, like you said.
Why would that be important, the way that we're seen in an online meeting?
Well, it all comes down to our kind of cognitive biases, the assumptions that we make about people based on how they're coming across. And if you think about when we're watching a movie or TV, we're watching people in professional environments that have been well put together for this, but we're used to seeing that kind of quality. And then to suddenly try and talk to your manager who may be, 6 foot away from the camera in a dark screen in the corner, and their sound's really bad, you're not going to have a good experience. So if you're trying to convey any kind of presence or authority through the conference call, then those little tweaks can make a huge difference to how you're coming across.
So the message can almost get lost if what we're seeing doesn't match up with what we're hearing. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah. That kind of noise and distraction, particularly if you're on the grid view of a Zoom call and you can see lots of people's faces, and suddenly, a dog jumps in, then everybody looks at the dog, or a child comes over, everyone will look at that child rather than paying attention to the person who's speaking. So this is why the etiquette is really important. And this is something people could talk to their teams about and figure out in-house, or, get someone in to facilitate that and figure out what are the rules that we're willing to accept. Because if you were sitting in a meeting at work and someone just silently got up and walked out, you'd all be looking at each other saying, oh, what just happened? But we do it on Zoom because we feel like it's okay. It's like we forget that we're being watched.
Why do you think we behave so differently in those meetings than we would in person? You say we wouldn't get up and leave, we wouldn't let our dog kind of run in or our child. Like, what's changed?
I mean, look, we've all been thrust into it very quickly. So we're figuring out what those rules are. But there's these blurred lines of the professional and personal space going on. Sometimes we can't help it that the kid runs in, or, a siren goes past in the background, whatever's going on. And also, we don't have that kind of third space of the commute between work and home to get us in the right frame of mind. So we're literally, before coming on this call, I'm like, okay, the kids have snacks, they've got a drink, I've got my water. We're rushing around and then throwing ourselves into these calls and expecting to perform at our best, when really we need a bit of buffer and a bit more planning to make sure things go well.
You're listening to Bethan Wynne. She's a corporate trainer and communications lecturer. And I wonder if you're nodding your head as you're listening to our conversation in terms of what you might have seen or even done yourself in some online work meetings over the last couple of weeks. David in Quinns Rock, Bethan, has sent a gorgeous photo. He says, I love this photo during the rounds of social media. On it, on the left, the words Zoom meeting audio only, and a dog with very, very messed up hair and a cup of coffee, looking rather under the weather. And on the right, a very well-groomed dog with an attractive denim jacket and some lovely sunglasses. Zoom meeting with video. So
camera on, camera off.
I guess are there some people who are literally having meetings and not having any video? Is there any kind of, benefit in that?
Well, the problem then is that you've got no idea whether people are engaged. So this is where it's useful to set the guidelines up beforehand if you're hosting the meeting, to let people know that you do expect them to be on camera, because it's very difficult often the etiquette is to put people on mute if they're not speaking. But if you've got no visual or no audio from someone, then literally they might not be there. I've had friends say, they've switched the camera off because their child has come in. But then 10 minutes later, their manager might be saying, "Are you still there? Are you still part of this?" And they're like, yeah, I'm here. And trying to, at least show that they are engaged. But it's very easy for us to switch off when we're in the meeting. If it's something that's not relevant to us, or it hasn't had, in terms of a training session, if it hasn't had a punchy, quick start, then people do sort of zone out, and you're literally staring at your box of distractions in your house full of distractions. So it's very easy to kind of lose the room when we're using Zoom or other platforms for that kind of meeting.
So what would you suggest then? Firstly, what shouldn't you do in an online meeting?
I guess we need to re-engage those thinking about what is good, what is acceptable in normal meetings. So like I was saying, don't just get up and walk out. Maybe let people know in the chat box, hey, I've just got to pop out for a minute. Eating messy foods in particular. Don't be sitting with your popcorn or your cereal in front of the camera. Things like sitting on your phone, obviously, multitasking. I think what we all need to do is sort of plan and make sure that the time that we are on Zoom is quality time, rather than expecting people to be on it all day and then having all these behaviours become acceptable. So then we're not very productive at the end of the day.
So some of it then is about putting together a successful online meeting, and I guess that can be done in a different way than your traditional conference call or your in-person meeting.
Yeah, we do need to rethink, how we want those meetings to run, absolutely, because it is a new media and it's one that we're not used to, and a lot of people probably wouldn't choose necessarily, but we just all have to work together to try and improve that. And so, if you're on a call with someone and they're not coming across very well, then it might be nice of you to say to them, "Oh, hey, I couldn't see you very well at that point," or the sound, and then we can all help each other to just do better in this new situation that we're all in.
Well, I think it's fantastic advice. Thank you. It is something we've been thrust into and probably haven't really thought about, but I know I've found myself sitting staring at myself, which I also don't enjoy. Can I tell you, Bethan?
Yeah, it's another barrier, right? You're there looking at yourself.
Look away from yourself.
Yeah.
But I think they're great tips. Lovely to speak to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much, Di.
Bethan Wynne, she's a corporate trainer and communications lecturer. I wonder if you can identify with anything that Bethan was saying there. Peter from Bateman, hello. He says he's seen quite a few of these meetings where people have pot plants growing out of their head or a door frame. He suggests always check the background. Thank you, Peter.